Heretic's fork. A collar equipped with 2 sets of metal forks at each end. One set was positioned under the chin and the other on the sternum, after which the device was fastened around the victim's neck. This forced the person to keep their head lifted, causing discomfort and sleep deprivation. During this period, the subject could be interrogated or left in the immobilized position while the forks slowly penetrated the neck and jaw. This torment continued until the victim was no longer able to support the weight of the lifted head. Scold's bridle. A metal frame worn over the head with a muzzle to silence the wearer. Inside the mouth were spikes that would tear the tongue if there was any movement. It was used to punish women deemed too talkative or gossiping, publicly humiliating them and restricting their ability to speak. Blood eagle. A brutal ritual in which the victim's ribs were cut from the spine and spread apart to resemble wings, while the lungs were pulled through the openings, causing a slow and agonizing death. Scaphism. An extremely cruel method used to cause death to an individual. It involved confining the person in a boat, covering them with honey and milk to attract insects, and feeding them with the same mixture to force them to defecate and vomit continuously, thereby attracting even more insects. The insects would continue to bite the victim until death, with the cycle repeated every morning. Branding iron. A tool used to brand an individual's skin to leave a permanent mark, extremely painful and leaving a scar for life. It was a method to punish someone and remind them and others of what had happened throughout their life. Brazen bull. A life-sized metal statue shaped like a bull, used to confine an individual and then heated with fire underneath, causing an experience of extreme heat and pain. For anyone inside, condemned to be burned alive. It was designed to intimidate others and demonstrate the brutal nature of punishment. Breaking wheel. It smashed an individual's bones and then twisted their body around a large wheel, leaving them suspended high where birds and weather condition caused a slow and extremely painful death. Breast ripper. Primarily used as a form of punishment for women, it was heated and applied to tear the skin of the breasts, inflicting severe punishment that left permanent scars and caused pain for the rest of their lives. Cangue. A massive and heavy wooden board fixed around an individual's neck, making movement and eating difficult. This device served to publicly shame the person, making their punishment not only physical but also humiliating in front of others. Castor oil. Forcing an individual to drink a large quantity of castor oil caused severe abdominal pains and made them sick to the point of being unable to hold back feces. Subsequently, the person would be confined in a large barrel the size of a man and would only be released after confessing. Choke pear. A metallic device inserted into the mouth or anus of an individual and then deliberately expanded, stretching the tissues until they reached an irreversible point. Head crusher. As the name suggests, it was a terrifying device that slowly tightened around the head, inflicting intense pain and ultimately crushing the skull. This instrument was used to extract confessions or as a form of brutal punishment. Iron chair. A chair made of iron with sharp spikes on the seat and armrests. The victim was forced to remain seated on the chair for long hours, sometimes days, causing extreme pain. Keelhauling. A severe form of maritime punishment in which a sailor was tied to a rope and dragged underwater from one side of the ship to the other, passing beneath the ship's keel. Lingchi, also known as death by 1,000 cuts, was a form of execution used in China, during which the flesh of the condemned person was systematically cut. This process continued for hours until the person's death. Pendulum. A method of torture that involved a sharp blade suspended above the victim, slowly descending with each swing, cutting deeper with each pass. Rack. The person was forced to lie on a rectangular wooden frame that stretched the victim's body by pulling their arms and legs in opposite directions. This torment inflicted extreme pain and could cause dislocated joints and torn ligaments. Scavenger's daughter. A compression device that forced the victim into a crouched position, compressing the body and inflicting extreme pain. Pau de Arara. A form of torture in which an individual was suspended by a bar for the wrists and ankles, resembling the position of a parrot on a perch. Tongue tearer. A device used to grip and tear the tongue, inflicting intense pain and depriving the victim of the ability to speak. Ironically, it was often employed to compel individuals to speak. Strappado. Involved tying the victim's hands behind their back and hoisting them up with a rope attached to their wrists, often resulting in dislocated shoulders. In some cases, weights were added to the body to amplify the intensity of the action and the associated pain. White room torture. Involved confining the victim to a completely white, soundproof room with no windows or distinguishing features. This method was employed as a prolonged form of psychological torture, often driving individuals to madness. Oubliette dungeon. A type of dungeon designed as a deep pit, intended to hold forgotten and abandoned prisoners in darkness. Prisoners were thrown through a narrow opening, often neglected and left to die without food or water. Gibbeting human cages. Used as a method of public execution and post-mortem punishment, during which the body, sometimes still alive, was placed in a metal cage and displayed in public, often in busy areas. This practice served as a warning to others and inflicted upon the victim a slow and humiliating death. Spanish tickler. A terrible instrument designed to tear and shred flesh from the body. It consisted of metal claws that were constantly and slowly used on the victim, initially causing tickling but then mutilating the skin after a while. Bamboo torture. Involved inserting a piece of bamboo into a person's anus and leaving it there. The bamboo would rapidly grow inside the body, causing extreme pain. Sometimes it was left until it emerged from the other side. Flaying alive. Involved removing the skin from the body brutally, sometimes even while the victim was still alive. This extreme form of torture was designed to inflict intense and prolonged pain, causing extreme suffering that ultimately led to death from shock or infection. Judas Chair. It was a cruel torture device characterized by a pyramid-shaped seat, upon which the victim was placed with ropes used to lower and suspend their weight on the sharp edge. This method would gradually impale the person. Iron Maiden, a sort of chamber resembling a coffin, equipped with spikes inside that pierced the person enclosed within it. Spanish donkey. A cruel wooden device angled and sloped, where the victim was forced to sit as if riding a donkey, while weights were attached to their feet. This unnatural position greatly increased pressure and pain on the body, often resulting in severe injuries to the legs and spine, until the victim was practically broken by their own body weight. Crocodile shears. A chilling torture instrument designed to sever the limbs of the victim. The shears featured a serrated and heated edge, resembling the jaws of a crocodile, and were often employed against metalworkers or to punish those who committed acts of robbery. Chinese water torture. A practice involving the continuous dripping of water onto an individual's forehead for an extended period. This caused psychological torment and could lead to extreme anxiety and even mental instability, as the incessant sound became unbearable over time. Thumb screws. A device that exerted painful pressure on the thumbs or fingers by screwing in bolts. This instrument crushed the fingers, causing intense suffering, and was often used to extract confessions or punish thieves and other criminals. Whirligig. A torture device that rotated the victim at high speed, causing dizziness, nausea, and potential physical damage due to centrifugal force.